Tiny houses can make a lot of sense for a lot of different reasons. Maybe it's to do with housing affordability, and maybe it's to do with mobility. Constructing a house on wheels can give you a lot of options, and for two traveling therapists, that's exactly what it's done. And today here in San Diego, we're going to check out their build. Hey Trish, how's it going?
Hi, nice to meet you, Bryce.
Lovely to meet you. G'day Saul, how are you?
Brother?
This is just such a cool tiny house.
Welcome.
What was it that inspired your tiny house journey?
Well, both of us were traveling therapists, so we wanted to have something we could take with us wherever we're stationed so that we could live wherever we work.
And a tiny house for that kind of setup really is a perfect option, isn't it? Because you're on wheels, you can travel, but you still have something that really feels like a home.
Yeah, absolutely. I think going from an apartment to an apartment, it was always having to move things, but this kind of feels like a station place and something that we can always go back to wherever we end up being located at.
And this tiny house, this was actually built as a DIY project, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. It took us a year to build, kind of off and on after work. But little by little, we chipped away at it, and I think it came out pretty nice. So when we decided to build one, I even told her, like, are we really doing this? This is crazy. But once we got the trailer, I mean, there's no going back. I'm that kind of person that once I start something, I'm going to finish it. So I've had a lot of moments when I was building it, and I was just sitting there for an hour or two just looking at this place, and I was just like, what did I get myself into? I was working on this after hours work. So I did work a full-time job, got off around 4:30 or 5, and I worked on this from 6 to whenever I was able to. So there was moments when I did pull all-nighters, and I may or may not have fallen asleep on the roof.
When the skylight was wide open.
When the skylight was wide open and I woke up and my leg was kind of inside the skylight. Those late nights that I was working on this by myself, out in the dark with my car as my light, she would always come by and kind of sit there with me and ask me, like, what can I do to help? And she might have not done much physically, but emotionally and to keep me going, she did a lot.
Overall, it translated into how we were going to be as partners in life and how we were going to solve those problems together and how we were going to use each other's strengths and weaknesses to be able to get through things. And with that build, it was obvious. There was no other question. Like, this was the guy I was going to marry.
And can you tell me about the location and where you're parked up right now?
We're currently in San Diego, and it's a temporary place. We've only been here a little over a month, but it's not our long term.
Mm-hmm. Our friend Gary was actually nice enough to lend us his backyard to finish building the project before we take it on the road.
And what size is the tiny house?
It's an 8.5 by 22.
And can you talk to me about the design of this tiny house?
Well, this was all kind of fly by the seat of your pants. We kind of were building and kind of designing it as we went because we didn't really have an idea of what we wanted. So while we were building it, we kind of saw what we needed and what was going to be functional for us, and that's what we incorporated into the build. So most of the things that we built this house with was secondhand from Habitat for Humanity, from Craigslist, from anywhere we can source them. So this is actually panel boards, 4x8 sheets that we lined the whole bottom and top with, and we put the accent piece for Trish here because she really wanted something to break up the blue.
Well, you've done a really great job. The exterior of the home looks brilliant, and I cannot wait to see what's going on inside. Can we check it out?
Yeah, let's go in.
All right, thank you. This is absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
This home really has such an open and spacious feeling to it, doesn't it?
Thank you. That's what we were kind of going for. And with the two skylights, it brings in the light pretty well.
Yeah, we wanted to keep it all open so you could see all the parts of the house while you're sitting right here in the lounge. We didn't want to make walls into it to make it smaller, but we definitely wanted to section off each living area.
I especially like what you've done in here with the shift of levels between the living room and the kitchen.
Yeah, so the wheel wells do come up about 1 foot high. So what we wanted to do was use all the space that we could. So we do have a his and hers closet that pulls out. Each closet bay is about 7 feet by 3 feet. So they made great open drawers for us for our clothing.
And the ceilings is still pretty high in this area, so it didn't mind that we had to lift this floor up a little bit higher, but I think it evened out better that way versus just covering the wheel wells and putting cabinets on each side of it.
The floors in here are really beautiful. What's this timber?
This is actually hickory laminate click flooring, which we were so lucky to find. There was a guy that was remodeling his house and was getting rid of 700 to 800 square feet of this stuff. And he said if you could haul it, you could have it. So I went down that day. We stuffed as much as I could in my car and we hauled it away. And yeah, it was definitely a way to keep the cost down, but it was actually really nice flooring. I was like, I don't know how I feel about getting secondhand flooring because I wanted it to look nice, but they actually came out looking really nice.
Completely free. That was the best part. I couldn't believe it.
Everything's a lot better when it's free.
Absolutely. And then over here we have your lounge.
Yes, we definitely wanted a place where we can kind of just relax, watch TV, kind of eat cozy meals and stuff like that, or read. And I think this space was a great size for that.
And tell me about the couch choice that you've made here.
Oh, this one's tricky. I really wanted a modern couch that just wasn't functional. It was just a couch with skinny, legs, but he made a really good argument that storage was going to be really important. And they had these sales on couches, and we just found one that had storage, and it was a pretty good compromise between his storage and between the style that I was kind of going for.
And I like the couch too because not only do you get storage, but it also folds out into another bed.
That's right. I forgot about that. Yeah. So if we ever have people over, we can just fold it down and it turns into a bed.
Perfect. Great design. And then speaking about storage as well, you have no shortage of clothing storage in here, do you?
No, that was one thing that we wanted, was enough room for all of our clothing. But for it to be out of the way, we didn't want to put cabinets here to kind of
close up the
space and take away room from the living area. So we decided to take our second loft and make it into our closet.
And then over here we have your kitchen. And tell me about what you've done in here.
Yes, well, we did want a lot of counter space. We do like to cook our own meals, so having the galley-style kitchen with the sink on one side and just this 7-foot slab on the other side gives us a lot of prep space for cooking and all that.
We were thinking about getting a stove in here, but that would take up some part of the counter space, so we ended up just getting a portable stovetop that we just put over the counter, and we get to make our meals that way.
And then it's always so hard to go wrong with the beautiful farmhouse sink, right?
That's one of my favorite places of this house is that double sink. We didn't want to go that big, but I think, what were the factors that led us to getting this size eventually?
Yeah, so with getting just the single one, I know we would have to have a place to dry our plates and stuff, so I didn't want to get one of those ugly plate drainers that go into the sink, so I think just having one space to dry your plates and the other to wash makes it more efficient.
Yeah,
and these cabinets actually weren't brand new either, so we were worried how much cabinets were going to cost us. So these were found on Craigslist.
Yes, so somebody was remodeling their kitchen and was getting rid of all these cabinets, and I know my buddy Daniel helped me with the 2 extra ones just to make sure it fit into the space, but all the cabinets were secondhand.
I was really terrified when I first saw them because they were ugly. They were hideous, but I think with paint and the hardware, it didn't turn out too bad. It's one of my favorite things in the house now is just the cabinets in the sink area.
Yes, so because we didn't want to fill the space with another table, we kind of just avoided putting cabinets in the middle section of this island, and we have chairs that we can pull out and sit, and it becomes a bar too.
And if we were eating it in the counter area and we still wanted to watch TV, all we had to do is just move our TV this way, and it tilts over, and we get to have our meals and we get to have the TV if we wanted to. And that's the beauty of having a small house, is that everything's just in the same place and it's not too hard to kind of move things around.
And then we've got your sleeping loft up above there.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite. Well, I guess everything's my favorite now, but that's the most comfortable part of the house, I think.
Yes, we didn't want to take away room from the bathroom, so we did kind of lower the loft a little bit, but I think it was a good subtraction from it because I could still sit up there comfortably, read a book and stuff like that.
And I think it's easier to get away with shortening the height of a loft when you have a skylight like that, because it still gives you that expanse to look out onto.
Yeah, and that light that it brings it in the loft area brightens it up and kind of opens up the space a little bit bigger too.
And both your sleeping loft and the wardrobe storage up here are accessed via that ladder, I'm guessing?
Yes.
Yes, well, this is actually a funny story. We were driving
at night.
And we passed by an alley, and it looks like it was an old painter's ladder that was just dumped in the trash can. So
I didn't even notice it.
She didn't. I told her to stop, and she got scared and freaked out, but I stepped out, I grabbed it and put it back in the truck, and then...
we ended up breaking the windshield on that trip because
We
I was
did.
driving. I wasn't like managing it.
We
So I
did.
kind of flew forward, broke the windshield. It was supposed to be a free ladder, but now it cost us
About $100.
$150 for this ladder that was supposedly free. But
Yes.
I like it.
Yes, what I do like about it is that you really can't buy this kind of look. So I love the fact that it was used for a different purpose. So again, a painter's ladder, but now it serves our purpose to access both our lofts.
It warms the house a little bit with the look of it. Can't explain it. But it just brings character to what the meaning of it was back then and what it is now.
Yeah, and it also goes back to us wanting to use pre-used materials to be able to build this house and give it that much more character.
And then back here we've got your bathroom. Can we check that out?
Yeah, let's come in. This is my favorite part of the house. My favorite room of the house.
Oh, this is cool. You've even got a little tub in here. That's lovely.
It's a clawfoot.
Yes,
Cast iron clawfoot.
I was okay with having one of those homemade horse trough bathtubs, but she didn't like the idea of it.
The style of it was just clashing in my head, and I resisted it for a really long time. When I finally did, though, he did surprise me with this perfectly sized clawfoot tub.
Yeah, so I was able to find this again secondhand. It's a 4-foot clawfoot tub with custom legs that actually makes it shorter, so we're able to fit under here.
Mostly him. I fit perfectly fine.
Oh, yeah.
What a brilliant find. I love it when you can get these little treasures in the home, right?
Yes, I like the way it looks because in here everything kind of looks new, but I like the used and worn look of it.
And you've got a good amount of storage in here and a nice vanity as well.
Yes, so the story behind this, like I said, we try to repurpose everything. So this vanity is actually a cabinet from a kitchen, the same kitchen that we got the bottom cabinets from, which was perfect size for our little sink.
And then you've chosen to go with a chemical toilet in here.
Yes, so because we were moving out here kind of in a hurry, we had to pick up something that we could purchase that day. So ultimately, we do want to go for a composting toilet. We're just going to wait till we get to our final spot to be able to get that.
And so you've only just finished the construction of this house, haven't you?
Yes, it was for a long time. There were just pending projects after pending projects, but I think we're just about done.
Yes, like I said, our friend was nice enough to let us stay here while we put the final touches on the house. And I think at this point, it's ready to go.
And what was the cost of this build?
Well, we haven't crunched all the numbers to specifics yet, but we're right around $25,000.
US dollar.
That is brilliant. And I mean, obviously, the reason that you've accomplished it for that amount of money is all of the work has been done by you. The materials, you've spent a lot of time cleverly sourcing them. But even that being said, $25,000 for a home of this build quality, that's exceptional. Congratulations.
Thank you. Like I said, we try to keep it down and use as much as we could that was free and sourced from different places like Craigslist. And definitely doing the work yourself saves you a lot of money.
I think it was a really big risk getting into it, but I think it's starting to pay off now. I think it was a really big accomplishment to be around that budget, if not on it.
Yeah, so I mean, it's not many people that say they paid off their house in a year.
That is very true. And especially when you're comparing that to rent here in San Diego, because this is not a cheap city to live in, is it?
No. For a one-bedroom apartment, we were just looking into it to kind of have a comparison. For a one-bedroom apartment, it's going to cost over $1,800 a month just for that alone.
Yeah, the places that we've been going to, especially here and places we've been looking around, prices are about half that.
For a space to park our tiny house.
Wow. So looking at it that way, you've effectively built this tiny house for around the same as what just a year's rent would have cost you.
Exactly.
And it's ours. We get to keep it.
ours. It's paid off. We don't owe anybody.
That was the biggest thing, is we didn't want to owe any more money. I mean, growing up in California, student loans are a big part of what gets taken out of our income, and we didn't want to add any more debt into that, and I think that played out really well, I think. I think my family put it really well that they called this project his labor of love. I mean, if someone builds you a house, what else could you ask for? I think that's true dedication and commitment if anybody was asking for any sort of commitment or a representation of that commitment. But it's nice to wake up and know that this was all him. Like, this was all his hard work, and I couldn't have asked for anything better.
There's no feeling like waking up in the morning and feeling like this is ours. I find myself a lot kind of just sitting on the couch and looking around, and in my mind kind of deconstructing it and seeing the phases when it had bare studs, when we put in insulation, when we did the electrical work and all that stuff, when the cabinets weren't put in. Deconstructing it into that and seeing how far it's come, even though it took us a little longer than we thought, no one can take that experience away from you. We built this, and no matter where we are, this comes with us, you know. So every day we're reminded of that time that it took to build this, and it kind of makes us appreciate the space a lot more.
Well, this really is such a beautiful tiny house. I can see how much love you've both poured into this home, and I am really excited to see where this takes you in the future. Thank you so much for sharing
Bryce.
it with
Thank
me.
Thank you for being here.
Thanks for visiting.
Thanks. This really is such a beautiful home. You can really see how much love has been poured into these 4 walls. And the fact that it was done for around the same price as 1 year's rent, I think really goes to show how achievable this can be if you set your mind to it.